of feed into what you said when you're using about science, thank a couple people, hit a couple topics here while I'm at it. Scott left, or I could embarrass him, but I have to really thank the science teachers that are in this room, starting from Mrs. Surface, who we had in 7th grade, to Mr. Irwin, to Fred Paul. What he does at NCI is absolutely amazing, and there is no doubt in my mind that he has a scholarship to RMU to be a biomedical engineer because of that internship. He was in Envirothon since he was in the middle school all the way up to his senior year. In fact, was willing to give up the track meet to go to the Envirothon. We made it happen, okay? Craig, what you have done with that, Kathy, everybody that's involved with the Envirothon, I thank you, because he has gotten so much out of that. And if you have elementary school kids and middle school kids, encourage them to get involved in that Envirothon, because it is an excellent opportunity. That kind of feeds into block scheduling. I know that there's probably going to be a discussion about that. My feeling on block scheduling, and I have taught block scheduling, I taught it in Germany, I taught here when we had the 30-minute classes, and then I have substitute taught here with the block scheduling. You need block scheduling. I hope you do a lot of homework before you make any kind of decision on block scheduling. Okay. You cannot teach a good science class. You cannot teach a good math class, a music class, any of your classes, English classes, without block scheduling. You can't do a lab in 30 minutes. You can barely get attendance and check homework in 30 minutes. Okay? You can't do a good involved lab that I've watched in Craig Wallace's classroom, that I've watched in Dan and Irwin's classroom, in Judy Fox's classroom. You can't do it in 30 minutes. So the next day you start all over again and you get a little bit more and a little bit more done. You can't do it in a 30-minute time frame. I have a friend that left here. She's at Bermudian. They have 8 classes a day. Her son is pulling his hair out. Okay? He's going from class to class to class to class to class. He has 8 classes of homework every night. He's not getting it. She wishes she was back here in block scheduling. If you look at block scheduling, my only suggestion would be, and I talked to Mr. Chain about it before, is to look at an A-B block where you have 4 classes one day, you have 3 classes the next day, and then you have a study hall. Okay? Then you don't have the lag in between, say, a language where you go an entire year without having language, or a math where you go an entire year. But do not get rid of block scheduling. It will hurt your students. The last thing I wanted to do is thank Bronte for bringing up track. We do have 2 athletes going on, 2 seniors this year, Tyler and Devin. And I just want to take this moment to thank Crystal Heller, who is our athletic department, our athletic director. I know in the past, I know it may come up again, that they're looking at making that a part-time position again. Please do not do it as a coach. I ask you, please do not do it. I've been there when that position was part-time. I've been there when that position is full-time. You cannot get the support from an athletic director as a part-time person. Hanover tried it, it failed, they went back to full-time. When you have someone who is needed during the day to answer coaches' issues, and then possibly at night, and when there are games, Bristol is, our athletic director was at track meet on Saturday, that's not a part-time job. It's not a part-time job. It's not fair to us coaches that have to try to deal with an athletic director who is not there. So if that issue comes up again, please talk to your coaches before you make that kind of decision, because it's not fair. It's not fair to teams. It's not fair to that athletic director to try to do a full-time job in 4 hours. It's not fair. Thank you.
I'm going to be shorter than she was. Now, a little bit different tact is I want to talk about opportunities. And, as y'all make decisions about what to cut and where you have to make very hard decisions about extracurricular activities, I want to use my son as an example. We thought he was crazy when he was doing it. He's played football, and then he decided he woke up one day and wanted to wrestle, and then he didn't want to wrestle, and he wanted to play football, and then he wanted to throw, and then he wanted to run cross country, which was a big shift coming in as a lineman to be a cross country guy. Then he wanted to be a distance runner, musical, show choir, saxophone player, tuba player. These were opportunities that if my son was going to Gettysburg, he would not have. And many of these were extracurricular activities. And because I'm type A, I won't speak for my wife, but because I'm type A, we were talking to Scott the whole time and saying, you're nuts. You got to focus on one sport because you want to play in college. Well, most of these kids aren't going to play in college. That's the truth of the matter. But what we didn't realize, because our other kids weren't as prolific, is I am convinced that in addition to the internship, it was the opportunities presented by this small school that kids can walk onto a musical, walk onto a sport. And some of these sports and some of these other activities turn a light on for these kids. And I know you have to make budget decisions, but be very, very careful about them because in some cases you're turning an opportunity off or a light off for these kids. And like I said, watch Scott blossom because of the opportunities, and so I'm very appreciative of it. So, the other thing is that, the last two board meetings I've come to, I'll come more. I want to come to some of the other finance meetings because obviously they're interesting. But one of the things is that while we've had some commentary about our teachers that sort of bled out underneath the curtain, every board meeting we've got teachers in here with great kids presenting. So they're doing something right. And I think we need to remember that as we talk about their salaries and some other benefits and all the rest of the stuff that they're doing. They're doing something right for these kids also. So as we go forward and we balance things, I just want to make sure that I discuss that with you all. So thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm going to talk to you about something a little bit more simple, and I'd like all of you to pay attention so that you're aware of how our lunch program I would like you all to pay attention because you are not all parents at our school. I would like to just speak to you for a moment about how our lunch program here at our school works, and for a parent who is paying for two kids on occasion to have lunch. My kids are limited to 2 or 3 lunches per week. You are in item Q suggesting a 50-cent increase in our lunches. 2012-13, we had quite a jump, I don't remember what it was, in our lunch cost. We did not have an increase this past year, but now you're looking at 50 cents, which this morning was 10 when I printed my original agenda, and it's gone up to 50 since I got home this afternoon.
Imagine that.
Lunch currently costs for middle school, high school students $2.50. If you increase it 50 cents, they will be paying $3 for their lunch. Now that may not seem like much, but if you have multiple children in the district, it adds up. You are also suggesting that you now turn the credit card transaction fees over to the parents, which on a $3 lunch will be 7 cents, and that's not even counting the $1 transaction fee for every transaction. So my lunch will cost basically $3.07 for my middle school student and $2.86 for my elementary student. This is a big jump, and you have spoken many times about our enrollment is down, but you're basing your increased revenues on the 12, 13 lunches that we sold, and that you're going to have $36,000 more in revenue. Well, I can tell you right now, you're not going to have $36,000 more in revenue because you won't have as many kids buying lunch, number one. Number two, your enrollment's down, you keep telling us. So you're not going to have that many kids buying lunch. There will be a lot of people upset by this. Now I have to, you all know I work in the cafeteria as a sub. These people that work in this cafeteria, they are on such a short staff that they bust their butts from the moment they get here until the moment they leave. They care about these kids, they care about what they eat, and they are doing a very good job of what they do. With all the federal standards that they have to meet, it is not an easy task. You know, it makes me feel bad because it looks like the cafeteria has a rolling deficit. Well, there's probably reasons for that, but it's not, you know, it's not fair to say, oh, the cafeteria is a complicated place for a budget. And you need to look at that not just by numbers, but exactly what it is, exactly what the federal government makes us have here for choices for these kids, the amount of time they have to eat, everything. So, as I say, time after time, think about your decisions, how it affects families, how it affects the students, because it affects everyone. And 50 cents is a lot, and we'll never see $36,000 in revenue from that.
I am the one that is retiring at the end of the year. I just want to give you a little history of Fairfield because I've been working here for 36 years, which most of you have not been living here with that. When I first came here, this was a very rural school, even more rural than it was now. The children either came from directly in town or they came from up on the mountain, top mountain. And they had a lot of smarts in a lot of them, but they tried. They were the sweetest kids. And if we took them anywhere, they were thrilled. I remember taking 4th grade class across the Susquehanna River, Harrisburg, for their class trip, and they asked me about the Atlantic Ocean because they'd never been outside Fairfield. After a few years, K-section and math section of that's when the building started, and that's our class sizes started to increase. When I first started working here, we had 2 of every grade. I did not want my children to go here because number one, I didn't want them in my own class, so my husband worked here too, and I didn't want them in his class. And I also didn't want to know if they dropped their lunch, their milk on the floor, if they dropped or they spilled or whatever happened, because that's how small the school is. We've grown a lot. We have gotten up to 4 of every class in the elementary school. You're back down to 3. Class sizes in 4th grade are 28, 29 kids. That's an awful lot for what the state asks us to do with these kids now. For you that don't know, the supermarket in town used to be named Newman's Super Thrift. It was named my husband's father and his 2 brothers ran a grocery store. It was a full grocery store. And they were very involved in the school district. Their names are on all kinds of boards hanging in these schools, on the buildings and things, because they were on the school board. They were involved in the community. And they saw what a good community. When we first came here, my husband and I got married, we started looking at houses. Fairfield School District was the top seller for the housing. That was what they said, oh, your kids would go to Fairfield Elementary. Your kids would go to Fairfield School District. I don't know if I'd say that. Stuff in here, no, and all over the board. You complain about the money, and I agree, it's very tight. I wish I could have a $200,000 home. I wish I could have a $300,000 home. The teacher doesn't want to have one. Even for all the schooling and the master's degrees that I have, it's not going to happen. But I think you need to look at the governor. He has cut millions out of the school budgets. He has cut hundreds of thousands out of Fairfield's budget. Yes, that's why the taxes have gone up. But it's not because of us overspending. The governor's taking it away. It has to come back somewhere And I'm sorry that we have to do it, or not. I've got to pay my taxes too. I was a little upset by a comment made by one of the school board members last time we were here about asking me to give my raise back. I've been at the top of this salary scale for a while. The biggest increase I've ever had in my salary is 1%. That 1% was more than taken away by the increase that I had to give up for my health care. So if I give my raise up, I didn't get one. And I also I'm having to look at retirement now saying, I think that 100% of my salary that I'm supposed to get when I retire, because that isn't happening either. And I'd like the health care that I'm going to get when I retire, because right now I'm looking at health care, and what I'm saying is going to cost me, it's going to cost me about $1,500 a month with my husband having heart transplant a year ago. So it's tough all over, and it's going to be tough on me, and it's going to be tough for a while till we hit Medicare age. I got a little while to go before I get there. So we'll see, but I love every minute that taxes increase. That's what the federal government's for. But I also have kids in the school district, 2 of them. My kids, is she beautiful? I have been very concerned lately because of the letters I'm seeing and the articles that are biased, out of context, that don't have all the information. You're worrying parents. I talk to parents at track meets, soccer games, and see them in the stores, and they're concerned. They're concerned that you're going to eviscerate our school, that you're going to start with extracurriculars and then take out music and take out band. You're not there yet, but they have a reason to be concerned watching your actions. So far, we have board members who don't want to replace a 20-year-old roof that's leaking. Anyone hasn't come foolish, folks. Not wanting to advertise for a middle school math and science teacher, putting on advertising for a soccer coach that just retired. I have a reason to be concerned with your actions. Now, I keep hearing how bad our taxes are. I'm going to put a pin in something here because in 15 research, I pulled every single millage for 2014 from every school district in York and Adams County. You take a look at that, thank God I lived in Fairfield because we are the lowest tax rate of any school district. Figure out what millage meant on the average value of a home here. You can see if you lived in Northeastern, you'd be paying 2.6 times what you do here. So, yeah, they're not perfect, but heck, you guys are educating kids pretty darn well on less money per household than any other school district in counties. Congratulations, Mr. Chain. I also went and looked at the effect of the maximum tax increase, which is one of the things that we're not looking at. But on the average house in our school district at $218,000, the increase in taxes at the maximum would be $54. You're talking 1.3. That's about $6. For a fun comparison, I took my family to see Godzilla this weekend. 4 tickets for 2 teens and 2 adults cost me $54. If you have the maximum tax increase, $54.92. So you are scaring parents and you are cutting things for the price of a movie night. And if you go 1.6, hey, that's how much I spent on Subway sandwiches to feed my family last weekend. So this is getting a little silly. As a property owner, as a parent, I want you, instead of snipping at each other, bad-mouthing our school district and our students and our teachers, I want you to start working together on a balanced solution. You're here to do a couple things for us. You're here to balance the need for lower taxes and the needs of our students. You're here to help prepare our students for college, careers, trades, whatever it is that they want to do after school. You're here to continue providing them a rounded education. You're also here to make this a school district that families want to move into. I moved here from California in 2008, specifically to this school district because I was fleeing the school that had no art, no music, sports, had kids in portables on the playground. I don't want to see that happen here. I don't want this to turn into a school district where people are putting for sale signs on their front yards trying to get out of here. There's
you cut all this stuff, and heck, I'm hosting my kids over in Gettysburg, pay the extra villages over there, and let them have access to that. So, just a few real numbers for you, that shows where our school district actually is. Thank you.
Question mark here for Cameron Brown.
Okay, good evening. I'm Cameron Brown. I'm currently a junior here at Fairfield, and I just want to say something about block scheduling. I would like to definitely direct it towards the other classroom. I know it's going to affect a lot of us. I was talking today with a teacher, and we were talking about math and if they went to class periods. Well, I had figured out that with our Algebra 1 class, it's a year-long class. And that would kind of mess up if that student wanted to go into calculus by their senior year. We know that a lot of students, it is hard for them to move on with certain things as well. And it would really affect that our, I don't know, the teachers actually understand what they're learning. I know a lot of students struggle with certain things. And for me, that has helped me with that extra time. I actually do get to understand what I'm learning. And without that time, it's really going to create a lot of trouble. We're going to have to stay after school longer with different teachers. We're going to have more homework. And I know a lot of us do a lot of extracurricular activities as well. So really cut into that time with extracurriculars as well as our schoolwork. And then grades would start to slowly dwindle if they don't get that time. So I would just like you to think about the block scheduling and a lot of us for our future. And I greatly appreciate your time.
Thank you all for your input, much appreciated. Particularly touched by consent agenda. Are there any items we need pulled for further discussion? Any others?
And I've tried to explain that really over the last few years, the district has worked through attrition and actually furloughs to pare down elementary certified staff in the grade levels where we have seen reduced numbers, essentially K now through 6th grade. We also this year are approaching the new school year by not replacing an English teacher at the middle and high school level, which we believe is a sound move because we think we can move some things around to accommodate that. I know the board has asked me, and frankly, I've heard this a number of times, as our smaller class sizes reach the upper levels, we will have challenges to both look for ways to provide opportunities for children, but also do that efficiently. So while we have, I wouldn't say easily, we have in the past reduced elementary to 3 teachers per grade level and allowed some class sizes to be as much as 27 and 28. I'm recommending that we replace this position at elementary in order to be able to continue offering services and to keep class sizes at the size they are right now.
One further thing. Could you please provide the schedules of the teachers? You can look at it and find out.
Yeah, I'll be happy to provide. schedules.
Come sit in my room.
Before you make a motion, I'd like to just comment that I think that even considering
That's called micromanaging,
students in elementary
isn't it?
schools
Isn't
at
that
25,
micromanaging?
26, 27 is unacceptable. And I think it, money's in the budget, this position is replaced, that we as a board have the duty to replace that.
Mr. James, how, how many teachers do we have? If you multiply that by 27, 29 a class, we're really around 13 as an average.
We already told you that isn't right. That's wrong.
Right. Thank you.
Yes, it is him, yes. He provides the wrong numbers and then he persuades everybody else. I think they kind of like this whole plan here, they provide the wrong numbers. Yeah.
I move the grant permission for administration to advertise and recommend to hire an elementary teacher for 2000.
He apparently ran some company, I don't even know if it's in existence anymore.
Mrs. Meisel? Yes. Mrs. Hatter? No. Mr. Rigler? Mr. Greenhouse?
Yes.
Mr. Whitcomb?
Yes.
Mrs. Moscato? No. Mr. LaFever?
No.
Mrs. Van Meter? Mr. Barlow?
Tell them, kids. This is who our community elected.
Item D. Move to grant permission to the administration to advertise and recommend for hire a part-time high school IDEA aide for 2014-15 school year. It's replacing comment? Cool. What is the ID?
This is an aide that whose sole purpose is to work with youngsters who are identified under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, essentially special education. These positions rise out of children's needs, oftentimes are dictated through children's IEP and are necessary service needs, so that if the district did not offer the service, for example, the district would not be following through with federal law.
And I can make a motion that we approve items.
Before you do that, this is a part-time position.
You can move to approve item
Like
D.
it's some-
I'll second,
Second.
and I would like to know what it is in the budget.
This is in the budget.
Mrs. Meisel?
Yes.
Mr. Hatter?
Yes.
Mr. Rigler?
Yes.
Mr. Greenhouse?
Yes.
Mr. Whitcomb?
Yes.
Mrs. Moscato?
Yes.
Mr. LaFever?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Meter? Mr. Barlow?
All right, brings us to item AA.
Trying to find it in the original. In the original agenda, it said, and which I could have gone along with, so I can't go along with how it's worded in this agenda that we stated, move to approve withdraw from any and all association with boroughs and townships regarding park and recreation activities. Future involvement only be undertaken following full participation and commitment by the boroughs and townships in the school district. I can go along with that because we can't do anything without the boroughs and the townships. But the way this reads, I can't.
Further discussion?
Yeah, just want to further write. We found out during the we had an executive meeting before was not intermingled with school funds, so that grant is definitely gone and it was part of the borough.
So do we want to revise this motion?
No,
I make a motion that FASD. Right.
Mr. Whitcomb?
No.
Mr. Greathouse?
Yes.
Mr. Riegler?
Yes.
Mr. Hatter?
Yes.
Mrs. Meitzel? No. Mrs. Moscato?
Yes.
Mr. LaFever?
yes,
Mrs. Van Meter? And Mr. Barlow?
Motion carries. Double B, motion to approve reducing account 131 to $235,701, which represents a 3% year-over-year increase in the 2012-13 budget.
I would like to have added or amended to that, return to salary and hours per month.
What is account 131?
And we're having some trouble hearing you back, please.
I don't know what, speaking of 31.
it's extracurricular and athletics.
And I want to have amended a return to the AD salary and hours to part-time status. So moved.
Yeah, I can explain more. This, again, is not the administration's recommendation to reduce this account, which the account is the sum total of all of the salaries that are connected with putting on an athletic program and an extracurricular program, meaning drama, class advisor, newspaper, all those things. If you look at all those supplemental salaries, add those all together and include what we pay for timers and people that measure and collect tickets and things at the gates of our athletic events, and the salary of the athletic director, that comes up to about $251,000. So this motion effectively cuts about $16,000 from that account, and I'm understanding Mr. Riegler to say that that would come mostly from the AD's position.
Is that correct?
It is as far as the specifics as the numbers that Mr. Chain gave. I would say I believe them. I also know that this position was made full-time with the understanding that the AD position would remain part-time, and the other part-time, the doubling of the duties would be to undertake the director administrator of the rec program, which we with AA are no longer a part of. And so with this point, it would seem that everybody will still have the same athletic director, access to the athletic director, but the district will not be paying twice as much for it.
It wasn't working before. You had it part-time, it wasn't working before.
And you took your secretary away.
It's not the same position.
Mr. Graham.
Excuse me. Bill, comment from the...
Has the motion been seconded?
No.
And we're still in the comments.
Still in discussion.
If it is seconded and before it goes to a vote because it's being amended, you need to allow public comments.
If it's being amended. Can I?
Mr. Chain, if I could just ask a question. Having lived through both segments of how this program works and understanding that it didn't work well before when the position was part-time, now that we're working very well, do you have any other recommendations, another way we can help fund that position, or a way that we can cost share, give her some of the duties, something else you can do?
Yeah, the question is there another way to approach this? So in the The broad view of the issue, it is in fact the following. A few years ago, the board, at that time being supportive and a general thought that the community was going to be supportive of a park and recreation program, moved to bring an AD on, and with the idea that that athletic director would also spend part of his or her time administering to the park and recreation program. So over the course of a year and a half or so, the study finally went, after forming an intergovernmental agreement, constitution, set of bylaws, and that went to the individual communities and municipalities and boroughs who needed to pass that. There was opposition to that idea. So I think it was said earlier, it was either tabled, voted down, or voted in favor, but it did not garner enough support to be able to have the program. So here we are, we find ourselves with an unrealized dream. I'll call it my dream. I know that's not a widely held view on the board. But, so what to do? I would rather us look for other opportunities for the AD to be of service to the district, as opposed to removing that person from the full time that they spend in the district. If you look back on our history, while we've had part-time in the past, we've also had a full-time AD secretary. That position has been moved away, so we do not have that support. So moving away from having a full-time AD without the support of someone there through the day to take calls, to be able to, at the minimum, answer questions in the most basic format, we are going to run the risk of offering a lower service. So my recommendation is that while it's not ideal, perhaps financially, we have made a commitment to a person. We have a program that's running reasonably well that we have support from our coaches for. Give us some time. This is a small district, and over time we've found ways to combine jobs and move people around. I would rather think that it won't take that long before we might have an opportunity, because of another positioning opening, to reorganize and move some more things into essentially the job description of the athletic director.
I'd just like to add that this really lends support to all levels of athletics, including our member record. I think it's something we should look very carefully at. We made a promise to this person that gave her a job, put a job to come to this position. She's working very well. This was running very well here, very well at kickball. Our kids are learning great life lessons from extracurricular activities like sports that don't learn anymore. I hate to see that support go away if we can possibly keep it.
I have a comment to make. We had an executive session before this, talked about the and also they bring back that part-time to help save some money in the budget. And Mr. Chain at that time, and this is quoting him, I can find some fluff things for her to do.
I didn't think we were supposed to share executive sessions. Executive.
And it's not exactly what I said. I talked about we needed to have a real opening. In other words, somebody leaving before I could really give the board the kind of thing that you wanted with an actual set of responsibilities. Absent that, it wasn't a realistic thing that I could do right at the moment.
The only thing I trying to say on this is very disappointing because the way I've seen boards, how they're supposed to run, we gave you the 3-minute comment period. And you made your comments to the board. Now it's our opportunity as a board of electees to do the job we were elected to do. We're trying to go through this budget and cut where we need to cut, make adjustments where we need to be made. But once we start doing that part, there is no comment from anyone from the audience. It's supposed to be even allowed. That's what I have to say. Your comments should not be even allowed at this point in time. And we should not even interview. We should not
be discussing private stuff. Learn your school board rules, though.
Can I make a...
Yes, Mr. LaFever.
Thank you very much. Okay, just as a little bit of history in regards to this. Back in 10-11, it was 199,000. In 11-12, it was 214,000. In 12-13, it was 225,000. This year, it's 283,000. That's 61,000 increase. Why was it?
I can answer one.
What, please? Thank you. I had an opportunity to look through these numbers. I know where we stand right now. Now, I know that there has been moves within the accounts from professional salary into the extracurricular. I have not touched any of the extracurricular. We have talked about that. I asked what can be done about it. This reflects Park and Recreation. That's the way it was presented last year, not years ago. Last year was voted on. What I'm recommending is, and we have not touched any, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have not touched anything in regards to benefits. We have room to do something else. But athletics has to be back into where it is. I did not apply 2.3 as you see. I took all of the extracurricular into account.
Yeah, I understand.
These are not easy decisions.
I realize they're not easy decisions, and what I'm trying to do is advise the board in the best possible way I can. So again, I'll say to go back over the 10-11 budget, or the 11 and 12 budget, and to make an assumption that the budget category contained all the same individuals in that category is incorrect. For example, I know that the secretary that was assigned responsibility as the athletic director secretary was not in the athletic budget. It was in the secretarial staff budget. So that's an example of how people are accounted for and how that specific account may have changed over the years. And that makes it illogical to apply the 2.3% to that particular category because it's not a realistic view of what money was spent in that category.
I did not apply 2.3. And I got a list of everyone and all their activities and costs. Now, if there's
Yes.
someone that's missing in that list, then I need to know. Right now, I got a complete list.
Right.
I was told.
Yeah, I think you do have a complete list right now. The point I'm trying to make is you've based your opinion about the amount that's in that budget category by looking at numbers that were in a budget line item. We were spending more for athletics than what was represented in that account code because, for one, the secretary that was assigned as the athletic director secretary was not budgeted in that athletic account.
And is she in the current account?
No, she's not. The AD is in that account. That's the difference. So the secretary was never in there. The AD is in there, That's what's making the history a little peculiar to you.
There's a motion as amended. Is there a second to the amendment?
I'll make it a second.
Can somebody tell me what this motion is now?
Motion would read, approve reducing the amount of account 131, $235,700, which represents a 3% year increase from 2012 budget, and amended
Include a reduction of AD salary and hours for part-time. According to the solicitor, we have to open up to public comment.
What are we amending it to?
Just ask, as we're considering this, is the board recommending that we put a secretary back in the AD chair during the time that no one is there?
That was not my.
You see there's a practical issue there that we've taken away a person.
Well, I can say that if that's a recommendation that you want to make, that's fine. What I'm talking about right now, again, is a return, not a return to the status the AD was prior to increasing it to take up the administration of a program which does not exist anymore.
I just need to say something, because when the AD went full-time, there were a lot of other things that happened kind of behind the scenes. So attritionally, we were also able to get rid of the secretary who retired, and we took the AD secretary and put her in a spot, and took that particular person and put it into another spot, which eliminated attritionally a full-time secretary. Now, if we reduce the AD to part-time, which is certainly if that's the board's decision, but you have to kind of know what else can happen. If there isn't a body there to answer the phone all day, there's going to be there will be problems.
Absolutely.
Now, to get a body there to answer the phone, even if it's 4 or 5 hours, basically will negate any savings that you're gaining from making the AD part-time. So basically, you're making the AD part-time, blowing this all out of the water, and in the end, you won't write a smaller check. And I just need to point that out. It's your decision. It's your, but you aren't going to end up writing a smaller check if you're going to maintain an athletic program. Because somebody has to answer that phone. So somebody has to move, and then somebody has to fill their hole, because now pretty much all the holes are filled, and they're desperately needed. And I would welcome anybody to come in and see that. Because we're getting lean, which is good. It's good for the taxpayers, it's good for everybody, but we're getting it. So you're not probably going to write a smaller check by this decision.
Mr. Rowe.
Just to give you an example of what will occur, because we lived through it previously, is the secretary, even though she was there, she could answer the phone, but she couldn't make a lot of the executive decisions or the decisions that the athletic director had to make. Because the athletic director had to shift her time, let's say a football night. The athletic director has to shift her time because you're only paying her half pay to that game, so she's not there during the day. And when that happens, she's not there to make calls. And when athletic directors and other people call to have decisions made, they don't have a counterpart to contact, and the secretary won't make those decisions in the absence of the athletic director. And so we had performance issues because you didn't have access to your athletic director. I will tell you from a FASD experience, many times FASD had to make some decisions because things came up, but you couldn't get to the athletic director because she had to make enough money, so she had another job. And most employers frown on somebody doing somebody else's work while they're at work, so she wouldn't answer emails and texts until she was done working. That became very, very dysfunctional. And I think if you talk to some of the coaches before you make those decisions, and to members of FASD, you'll realize that bringing her on full-time made a huge difference in the ability for our school to interact with other schools and access to the athletic director for decisions that have to be made during the day. And I'm just telling you, it's a huge difference, and it's a huge impact if you go back to halftime. I understand there's physical things you have to do, but it's going to really throw a wrench into how we do athletics here, and it makes life really hard. You're going to get a lot of frustrated students, parents who don't get notified of stuff, and very frustrated coaches.
Mark, I just have a question. At least 3 things within this agenda from the agenda that I read as a public member tonight, including this athletic director discussion, has changed. And I feel that we're not giving the public a fair opportunity to speak on the agenda items if they're changed throughout the day. I came to see my son tonight. Had I been aware of some of these changes, I would have been here without my son presenting. So my question is, when is the last moment possible that I can see an agenda of items that will be discussed in the meeting? And who has the power or the ability or the charge to change agenda items throughout the day?
Mr. Chain has the policy here in front, he'll clarify for you. We're okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, the policy is easily searched on our website under policy. It's 1650. It's a couple pages long, and of course I've used the back of it here to take a lot of notes. But the preparation of the agenda begins with the superintendent, but it also includes opportunities for board members to put things on the agenda. Specifically, the final tentative agenda shall be available for inspection at the superintendent's office